organisation that works with young people in Hull says it's concerned safety messages about drugs are having less of an impact. It comes as a conference about drugs and the creative industry is held in the city today. Mal Williamson is from Creator College.
We're talking to our students about drugs, and it's kind of, crikey, the education awareness has dropped a bit. We spoke to Refresh City Council people. They've suffered in the cuts. So there's a bit of information that needs to go out again to the new generation of young people, get the facts about drugs out there.
And just a quick look at the sport. Grimsby Town will take an advantage into the...
We'll find out shortly. The question's going to be asked in Hull tomorrow at a conference. The question being, are drugs creative? We'll find out about that in a minute. 16 minutes past 11 on the Burnsy show. That was the Quicksilver Kings, by the way. Now then, there's an interesting conference going on in Hull tomorrow. The conference is called Drugcreator. And it's involving all sorts of people, actually. And there'll be a panel discussion and hosting a debate to discuss the question, are drugs creative? Mal Williamson is from the Creator College. He's put it together.
Hi,
nice to see you, Mal. How are you? Tell us a bit more about tomorrow's event and what's going on and what's the thinking behind it.
We're talking to our students about drugs, and it's kind of, crikey, the education awareness has dropped a bit. We spoke to Refresh City Council people. They've suffered in the cuts. So there's a bit of information that needs to go out again to the new generation of young people, get the facts about drugs out there. And the thing is, if you're not talking to your loved ones about drugs, then who is? Dealers. So we cannot leave the conversation about drugs in the hands of dealers. So our role at Creator College, we're into creators, so let's pull this together. As soon as we spoke to a few people in the city, sort of fairly high up, they said, that's a great idea, because everyone knows that, you know, artists and creations are much better on drugs. And it's like, what? There's this kind of mythology around, do you think, that drugs is about being creative, innovation, experimental. And frankly, that isn't the case. It's a myth. And we want to open this out and talk about this.
All right. Is this open to everybody, or is it just for your students?
We've promoted it around the country. We've got people coming up from down south, across Yorkshire, who are interested in this debate from various drugs organisations, prisons, police, etc. Please drop in. We've got drugs counsellors on the day. Just walk in. We're in Queen Victoria Square, so parents and teens very welcome. People in the workplace as well. It's another issue in the workplace with colleagues, health and safety. They say that 2 million people every weekend are on recreational drugs.
Right.
That's a heck of a lot.
Not including alcohol.
Not including alcohol. That's a lot of people. Like, what are they doing Monday morning at work? How does that work? How are they the following weekend? Where are they getting help from? Where are they getting information from? So by all means, pop in tomorrow. Parents and young people are free. We're charging the professionals, but we've got other organisations from the city there helping us out to sort of let's see what the situation is in the city, and let's be good for the city. And nationally, let's have this debate about creators and arts. Let's get rid of some of these myths and explore where the truth of the myth comes from. Let's find out about that, and let's talk openly.
So some of the sessions, I notice local author, but he lives locally. He's also a prison educator. Russ Litton is doing a session, Writers on Drugs.
Chuffed to bits, Russ is getting involved. Fantastic, yeah.
And then at 11:30 till 12, Punk and Drugs, a history from heroin to straight.
Yeah, I mean, I remember, you know, punk, it's all heroin, isn't it, and speed and things like that back in the 70s. But as the music developed, people went off the drugs. The bands that survived were the ones without the drugs, and you ended up with a movement in America apparently called straight edge. They wouldn't have caffeine, you know, they wouldn't have caffeine, nicotine, the lot. And the music, apparently, I'm looking forward to hearing the music gets wilder.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like the things that people talk about with drugs. I felt this and I had this. That's all our brain. That's all neurochemicals. We do it to ourselves. The drugs just kind of stop our brains reabsorbing these things, back into us. They block stuff and stop it reabsorbing. But all those things we can produce ourselves. The music does it in the nightclubs. You know, it's the music that makes you feel good, not the drugs. There's a sense of experimentation around. There's a sense of sensory enhancement with the drugs. But all those things are available to us naturally. Talk to anyone who's doing yoga and meditation. You don't find much more chilled experiences than that.
But drugs are probably more readily available than I suspect than they've ever been, with legal highs and things, which are a huge problem now.
I think it's another reason to open this debate, because you've got all the education budgets in the world are not going to counteract, 2 soap operas a week talking to 20 million people, pushing alcohol as the centre of the community. You cannot compete with that. Every chat show will have a few light-hearted comments about drugs abuse. Well, maybe if you're a millionaire celebrity, it's all fine and you can regulate what you're doing and cope with it. But for most people's normal lives, we cannot cope with the power of these drugs. The drugs are given to people. Drugs are part of a network of, as we all know, about human trafficking these days and all that kind of thing. Drugs are not a nice thing in the everyday world. The legal highs, I mean, it's, these unregulated substances, as the group coming tomorrow, Real in Hull, they're calling them unregulated substances. The law can't keep up. And if you can order stuff on the internet, the law is never going to keep up anymore with the supply of drugs. Why are people so keen to get out of it? How can they get out of it themselves naturally, feel good, feel happy, as just a natural state of being?
So it sounds a fascinating discussion, and you've got, as I say, Russ Litton is there. You've got musicians there. Steve Colby, DJ and producer, is there. You've got the head of NHS Psychosis Service for Young People, Amanda Webster, coming as part of your panel. Head of Brickworks Recovery Centre, Rebecca Shaw. Author and ex-head teacher Oprah Goodwin. All sorts of people coming to give their view and various talks and what have you. Just a reminder, Creator College is just down from the new Tesco. Yeah?
That's right. Yeah,
next door?
Just next door to the bank. Yeah,
right. And it starts at what time in the morning, Mark?
We're starting at 10 o'clock, 10 while 4, so you can come in at any time. There's stalls there, people to help, people to think, sit in, listening to some of these presentations. They're going to be absolutely fantastic. We're kind of balancing out the creative industries experience of the drugs and the real experience of the drugs.
And exploding the myth that drugs help you be more creative.
Absolutely.
Write a better book, play a better song.
It's complete nonsense.
Well, you deal with young people. How do you perceive their attitude to drugs?
The ones we have in are all kind of very, very sensible. They're like, they know this stuff happens, they know it's around, and they've all got friends who take drugs, and they have to deal with the aftermath of that. We had a little survey yesterday. There's been a lot of close shaves. They don't know anyone who's actually died yet from any drugs accidents, but it's getting close. It will happen. It's part of their everyday existence. And the other interesting thing when speaking with young people, that they've got drugs next to obesity, next to gambling, next to computer games, next to going online too much. It's just another thing that's bad for them that becomes obsessive and they're not allowed to do. And it's in that bracket for them, which is fine, but the trouble is a drug goes into your body and it can have crazy effects to one person that it didn't have for another person. All this unregulated stuff around means that everything's totally hazardous all the time. So it's a very weird world for young people to make sense of. In fact, yesterday someone said, my head hurts. Just trying to make sense of the whole political stuff, the hypocrisies involved with the whole situation, the economics, the wars in Afghanistan. So much comes into these issues about drugs, and it's like, well, let's just carry on talking about them. It's not illegal to talk about drugs. It makes a lot of sense. People know that drugs are attractive. The media industries, creative industries, I think sometimes we're to blame. We help to make them attractive and don't do enough about the other side of them. So it's kind of like you've got the straight, boring teachers and all that kind of going, hey, this is, they're not good for you drugs kind of thing. And then all the entertainment on the night is like, whoop-de-doo, let's get on with it. There's a balance. There's a knowledge. There's facts. One thing I would say, anybody wants to know more, go to www.thedrugsbook.co.uk. That's a free ebook. that we're launching tomorrow. So you can get that today. Simply go to thedrugsbooks.co.uk, have a free ebook with all the facts about drugs, all the facts about the therapies. It's great for parents and great for the workplace. We've got all the laws to do with if you're running a business or in a business, how do you cope with people who you know are taking drugs in the workplace. It becomes a very sticky subject. So that's all in the drugs book as well, which we're launching tomorrow.
Mal, if we hadn't been doing the Tour de Yorkshire, I suspect we'd have done a lot more on this tomorrow, but we will return to the subject.
Yeah, willing to come back. We're doing a print edition of the drugs book at some time, so I'll get in touch and we'll come back, bring some people and discuss more, bring some young uns in if you want, or creators, and let's talk more.
And those that have been through the experience and how it affected their life. Mal, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Burnsy.
That's happening at the Creator College.
Pop in.
Just off Queen Victoria Square tomorrow. It starts at 10 o'clock in the morning. And one of the questions in a panel debate are drugs creative. If you've any thought on what you've heard, do feel free. And if
great to hear what people think.
Russ Litton talking about writers on drugs, punk and drugs, a history from heroin to straight edge. And after lunch, very interesting, Frank Zappa versus Captain Beefheart. Talking about one famously anti-drugs and the other much happier to use them. There's all sorts of stuff. A panel debate at 1:30 with the head of NHS Psychosis Service for Young People, Amanda Webster, international DJ and broadcaster Steve Cobby,
fantastic,
head of Brickwork Recovery Centre Rebecca Shaw, author and ex-head teacher Ofer Goodwin, and author and prison educator Russ Litton all on that
and
panel.
all day, Burnsy, we've got End-of-Level Baddie and 90s Boy running workshops.
All right,
so you can make music, have fun, rap, all that as well.
Do get involved in that. If you've any thoughts on that, do let me know this morning. This is U2.